Who here is from a TLA? Who here knows what TLA stands for? It's just a couple people. We've been talking about this talk for a while, a little over 2 years now. It took a lot to get it to this point. It's kind of weird because what we're talking about is doing Phys pen from the other side of the planet. Spooky action at a distance. We talked about the use of recruited assets for intelligence collection. In case you didn't think this talk was going to be serious, that should have been your clue right there. All of which is available to anyone with an internet connection and a couple bucks in their pocket. The use of any resource, even minor resources, is a pretty serious undertaking, and we'll talk about that. Oh, Mike. Speaking to my microphone. For those of you that don't know me, Brian Martin, not Attrition Martin, the other Martin. I'm wearing a suit, which is the first time in history that you've ever seen me up at this podium in a suit, because this is a serious goddamn talk. More will become clear as we get into it. As they say on TV, don't try this shit at home. Now let's see if this works. Next slide. All right. First off, my employer does not endorse or support anything being stated. That's funny all on its own. Use of any information covered is the responsibility of whoever uses it entirely at your own risk. We know for a fact that some aspects of this are dangerous in really weird, bizarre ways. So be careful and always consult legal advice before taking any course of action. Okay, that was fun. Next. All right. To be clear, because everybody hates a charlatan, we did not undertake all of these activities. We have done some of these activities. Many of these activities are highly illegal. So you can't be an American in America and play with this stuff because it's gasoline. But it needs to be talked about because this shit is going on. I'm sure the intelligence community, if they were here, would be able to talk about some of this stuff. But they haven't. Nobody has. I haven't seen anything like this, so this is fairly unique. We can't do a lot of this without assuming an inordinate amount of risk or abandoning our moral compass, because like most of social engineering, there's some evil crap. I'm not entirely comfortable with probing the boundaries of these things. Well, actually I am, but I don't want to go to jail. So we'll leave that for the agencies and the nation states. Questions about specific activities that we'll talk about, feel free to ask me in the hallway. Hallway con is good, but we're not going to put them on a slide or a recording. So far, so good. All right. TLDR, if you would like to go to BarCon, this is your chance. This is probably for about half the audience. All you guys need to hear, and you can take it from this and just run with it. We are going to trick and or pay rubes to do our dirty work. Dumpster diving, pictures, recon, whatever the hell we want. These are desperate times, which means resources like this are cheaper than ever. You don't have to be Al-Qaeda. You don't have to be the NSA or the CIA or whoever. You can give somebody $20 and they'll do just about anything for you. We now return to our regularly scheduled presentation. This would not have happened without a number of people's involvement over the last couple of years, one of which is Bill Gardner. The other is a CrossFit guy named Nathan Magnias, who helped me flesh out some of the stuff. Mr. Boris and KC. Where'd Casey go? Oh, you sleeping? Yeah. My friend Eric and a friend who's not present named Nick. Um, uh, it was a weird time trying to figure out how to deliver this. And so here it is. And most importantly, because of my wife, Beth, and my boy, Luke. So that's that. Dedications all around. To the talk. I know it took me like 10 minutes to get to this point, but there was a warning. So what we're dealing with here is quantum entanglement, social engineering, social entanglement, intelligence collection. One of the funny aspects of this is if you're getting paid, if someone offers you money to do something evil and you take the money, are you still a dupe? Or are you a willing co-conspirator? I don't know. Quantum SE is the term that I use to describe what we're talking about because it sounded cool and I couldn't think of anything else. I'm in a suit. You have to believe what I say. Who here remembers Joe Isuzu? Anybody? Yeah. 400 miles to the gallon. All right. So when we're talking about quantum SE activities, what we're dealing with is these things. Some of my favorite things. This is the aspect of pen testing that I love the most. Getting down and dirty, finding the stuff, because it's just when you pull out a sticky note and it's like admin 247 semicolon DLFR, you're like, I own you. And it's just so happy. But if you're not there and you can't go dumpster diving, how do you get that stuff? You give somebody $20 and you have them go get it for you, even if they're on the other side of the planet. Quick acknowledgement to Larry Pesci and the guys from that side of the country who did the mailing of the wireless thing. I don't know if you saw that presentation. That was fun. Wireless sniffers going wandering via UPS. This is similar in, that's kind of what this is, but not really. Here we're going to pay somebody to do it for us, not the postal system. Okay, so what is it that we want? Aside from me to be better with the presentation stuff. We want pictures and video. We want to do physical scoping. We want to do logical scoping. We want to do radio scoping, but we're not there. Can we get their trash? Can we do it without being discovered or identified? That last part is where this thing starts to get a little freaky. If you're a pen tester and you have a contract with a client and you have a get out of jail card and you just don't want to be discovered, it's one thing to pay somebody to go do something so that if they're caught, you don't get found out, because that's part of the test. It's a whole nother ball game to pay somebody $20 to go do something, and if they get caught, they go to jail. If you're a curious person with, I don't know, a nameless, faceless agency or organization on the internet that wants to find out how the gate works at a certain military facility and you pay somebody to do this, that dude's getting jacked up. That's not fun. They probably don't care about that kind of thing, but we have to because we're, well, I think you have to. We're professionals. If you're a bad guy, you can do some interesting stuff with this. So we don't want to get caught. But there are complications to that. First of all, how do we hire these people? How do we get these assets so that we can put them to good use? I could just pay Boris, and he'll do anything I say. Sure. But how do you get people in China to go down to the Ministry of Defense and walk around the building with an antenna or pick up their trash or whatever? You have to use some sort of advertising. This stuff all works. I mean, we're all familiar with the Craigslist garbage, right? If you put an ad on Craigslist that says, I need you to go to the Civic Center, go up to the room, walk around, do whatever. Here's $20. You'll have 10 responses in like 15 minutes. It's so fast that you almost have to post the ads and then shut them down before your mailbox fills up because there's so many people that want to do this stuff. And the freaky part is, we're talking about America. There's a ton of resources in America that want to do this subterfuge crap. Not China. I mean, I'm sure there are, but I don't. part of the problem with this is it really helps if you speak the local language well enough to be convincing. But in America, this stuff works like gangbusters. Those are resources that we've used. They work. Here is an ad. I put that up for all of 5 minutes and got more responses than I'd care to remember. None of them included pictures, thank goodness, but it is Craigslist, so be careful. That's all it takes, is just throwing up an ad, being clear about what it is you want them to do, and being a little creative. That's where the social engineering aspect of it comes in. So I wanted a picture of some garage stuff. One of the things that you have to do before you begin this is deciding on your approach. Do you want to be anonymous, disguised, legit? As a pen tester, going in legit is the easiest way. You're just recruiting an employee to work for you in a foreign location. So your business insurance covers it. All of your liability is dealt with in the normal manner. It's basically just an employee. But this employee, you don't know. They don't have a background check. They don't have a clearance. You don't know what they're going to find. If you send somebody to a company to dumpster dive and they pull stuff out of the trash and it's important stuff and you don't know that person, you have just changed the equation. You've just put intelligence at risk. So doing this stuff, it's freaky sometimes because, you know, here's the root password. I have no idea who you are, but that's the root password. I hope you don't know how to use a computer, but I don't know for sure. Can you send that to me? Sure, no problem, bro. Your actors are going to have to interact with people, and you're going to have to be able to either trust them or trust that what you're going to ask them to do is going to work out okay. And now you know why this is why it was so difficult to get this thing together, is because there's some weird stuff that goes on here. You can't always trust these people, but if part of the problem is you don't want them to get caught, you're going to have to provide them with a story. So if they're anonymous, or if you're anonymous, they don't know who you are, you don't know who they are, you're using Tor drops and whatever, and they're curious, or they get caught, what are they going to say? What are they going to tell their friends at night at the table? I went and did X, and I was working for some anonymous guy on the internet, and he asked me to send him a bag of trash. How freaky is that? Anonymous actions are best if you're actually conducting some form of espionage, because you don't want to be caught. For professional stuff, I think that legit, you're working for me, telling them what's going on is the best way, but you still have to trust that they're not going to abuse what they come into possession of. Which, if you send somebody to photograph a lock, is not that big a deal, because okay, it's a picture of a lock. But what if you're doing like guard shifts and you're looking at shift changes, or you're looking for an unsecured door? So in the same vein that this works really well for pen testing, at the same time, it actually works better for the bad guys, which is why I wanted to get this out here, because people don't know about this stuff, and it's there and it's happening. It's easier for bad guys to do this and not care than it is for us to do it and care. $20 goes a long way. And the problem with subterfuge and being anonymous is that you really need to prep it. If you're going to do a website, if you're going to imitate somebody, this is like SE, you know, where's Mr. Kennedy? I need a website, I need emails, I need PayPal account. I've got to build a fake persona to deal with my assets that is not my company, that is not me. So there's basically a couple of approaches there. You can prep your anonymity, bootable instances, third-party Dropbox, what have you. Subterfuge, which is one of my favorites, even though we can't do it, You just lie. I'm with the CIA. We're doing X. I'm with Russian intelligence. We're doing this. You can lie your ass off. And again, this makes it much easier for the bad guys than it does for the good guys. Part of the problem here, though, is that if you are legit and you're engaging in this sort of activity and you're not a TLA, you're probably committing a crime. At the least, I would think it would be fraud, deception. I'm not a lawyer, but you're lying to people to get them to do things, and they're not your employees. It's weird. God, I love the intelligence community. Oh, one too many? One too far, sorry. There we go. So part of the problem with pen testing, as Phys pen guys know, is that you can get jacked up. And it's great when you've got a letter in your back pocket that says get out of jail free. Even though that may not work for tonight, it will eventually get you out of jail free, hopefully in one piece. But when you're messing around across state lines or across international lines, getting jacked up is a whole different story. And you're not the one doing it, it's your asset doing it. They may be perceived, and you may be perceived, as a criminal, terrorist, some sort of illegal actor. If I pay Mr. Dixon $20 to go do something, and he says, you know what, that sounds kind of weird. You want me to go look at a fuel plant and tell me when the guard shift changes? He goes to the cops and says, this is what's going on. What are cops going to do here in America? They're going to roll out that big tank thing and their black SWAT stuff, and they're going to come get your ass. Because we automatically jump to the conclusion here that if something weird's going on, it must be terrorism. You don't want to get jacked up like that. I don't want to get jacked up like that. Nobody wants that. It's bad enough, oh, we caught you picking a lock. Yep. The other part of this is that aside from getting you in trouble, your agents may act in bad faith. We talked about this. You don't know what they're going to do with that root password. They may try and blackmail you. They may take what they have found and use it against you, try and hold out for more money. They may claim that they were harmed. Who here is dumpster dived? Yeah. You ever get hurt? Yeah. And it's great because it's your company or it's your fault and you can deal with it. But if you're an asset that got paid $20 via Craigslist and you get hurt, or you can pretend that you got hurt and hold somebody accountable who has, I don't know, errors and omission, some sort of insurance policy that has a whole lot of zeros after it, that becomes a revenue stream for you. So using these people can be tricky. However, it's very $20 for a dumpster dive. Come on. But there are complications to it. If you're a bad guy, you don't care. Again, this stuff is easier for them than it is for us. They may use whatever they find for their own gain. They may use it directly. If they go into the trash and you're looking for credit card numbers and they come across a bunch of those, they may start using them. You don't know. These guys you hire them on Craigslist. Lots of ways to get burned. The other problems that you run into as a professional using this is accuracy. You send them to a location. Do you know they really went to that location? They sent you a bag of trash. Do you know where it's from? We'll talk a little bit about how to make that stuff happen. Speed, failure to produce, failure to adhere. You give them instructions, they don't follow them. Guess what? You're liable for what they do. If you're anonymous, and you're truly anonymous, that's fine. You've got that cutout. It doesn't matter if they ran into an old lady using the crosswalk and mowed her down, because it's not you. But the reality of it is that you can probably be traced back. They're going to know who it was. They're going to come because you're responsible for sending that person on that action. So don't do this stuff casually. When you do, be sure to set up contingencies. One of the biggest problems that I mentioned with remote collection is verification. I have a picture, I have a bag of trash. How do I know it's what I actually asked for? For physical imaging, we developed a technique called scoping, which is like Google Maps where you zoom in on something. You want that panel in that door. So what you start off with is a shot of the complex, because you can see it on Google. You can use Street View. You can go, that is the complex I'm after, where the panel is that I want a picture of. But I can't see that on Google Maps because it's inside. However, you can start on the outside and you can drill down. You say, show me the front door, show me the staircase, and you use this scoping technique with assets to develop, it's almost like a walkthrough where you're getting into the building or into the facility by going in a level at a time. And eventually you can get somebody to come in here and take a picture of that. You still don't know 100% that it's that, but if you've got this continuity of scoping images, you can generally be pretty assured that what you're looking at is what you're looking at if you've got the right continuity. But it takes more assets, it takes more time, it takes more money. However, it still beats a plane ticket to China. So that works pretty darn well. Timing is a little bit more difficult, especially if you're dealing with time zones. Yep, same slide, not an illusion. Creative people can come up with different ways to figure out timing in the shot. I mean, the easiest, most obvious one is I need a newspaper and like a proof of life type deal. But you can do different things in the collection that will give you the time and date. Ask them to put a paper in. You can look at, for trash is actually one of the easiest ways to deal with it, because there's stuff in the trash that will tell you things. You've got dates on there, you've got names on there, you've got addresses on there. How do I know that's trash from my client? Because the bloody envelope has the address on it. It's his mail. So I know that's cool. But for photographs and things, it becomes a challenge of figuring out what you can put into frame. If I know trash collection takes place, if I know deliveries take place, if I know mail delivery takes place, how can I frame those into the shots to make sure that what I'm looking at is when I want to be looking at it? For shift rotations and guards, this is important. But that's it. A lot of times it's not a big deal, but timing sometimes can be tricky. Oh. All right. The other way that you deal with making sure that the intelligence you're getting is what you want is by watching assets. Who watches the watcher type situation? I can send one person to take a picture of something, and I can have another person taking a picture of that person taking a picture. You can get into these weird layered situations where you've got people running around doing things that interact that have no idea that the other people are there. I mean, you don't care. It's just a matter of stacking up the events and organizing it so that things happen the way you want them to happen. But if you're paying somebody $100 to bring you a briefcase, I don't know, an object, a bag of trash, you want to make sure that you're getting your money's worth before you pay them. So how do you do that? By having somebody watch them do it. The nice part here is that for us, we actually have the easy part here instead of the bad guys for once. I can go watch what my asset's doing because they still don't know I'm there. They have no idea what's going on. I can just sit there and watch, and then I can be reassured that what's happening is what I want to happen. Different assets, different techniques. It's a weird thing. Contingencies. Another way that you can deal with this is honeypots and tripwires. We did one situation where we put something in the trash. So we had a known object in the trash. When they brought it back to us, we could see, okay, that's our stuff. if you're dealing with electronics and you want to make sure that you're not compromised, you can set up honeypots. I give you a PayPal account to pay me at. It has my email address that's associated with it. If I have a web server set up and all of a sudden I start getting hits from Chinese intelligence, chances are you talked. Somebody said something to somebody that they weren't supposed to, and now somebody's eyeballing us. Well, we don't really want that, so that's what honeypots are for. They let you know that something's going down and you don't want to engage that asset anymore. Staying out of trouble is half the battle. Flags, I think I talked about. That would be the red teddy bear. We used a red teddy bear. It's no big deal. Nobody's asleep yet, so that's good, except for Casey. Other things that you have to deal with in your contingency planning for this sort of thing is when things go askew. If they sell you out, if they give the information to a third party, you have to work through those angles before you start, because once the ball's in motion, there's no stopping it. Doing something spy-like is pretty sexy, and they might want to get some personal mileage out of it. You just don't know what sort of assets you're dealing with, so you need to plan for those contingencies. Again, bad guys don't care. They have it much easier, but they may copy whatever it is that you give them to do. Okay. Contingency options generally, mostly consist of a cover story, providing your people, your asset, something to say when they get caught, because this is just some Joe off the street. He's not an SE pro. He's not an intelligent asset per se. He's just some dude working for 20 bucks. So if you can provide them a cover story, for example, I'm an architecture student. I'm collecting pictures of facades. I want you to go here at this time and take a picture of the front of this building. It's a good cover story. I'm an architecture student. I'm an art student. I'm a history buff. Whatever it is you can come up with BS-wise that will help them stay out of trouble and help you stay out of trouble is a good thing. Art projects. I love art projects. One of the really cool things that's come up recently is using a game. There's games, you know, go on your cell phone, run around, take pictures, prove that you were here, become the king of this place, whatever. It wouldn't be completely unimaginable to have somebody put together an app for just an intelligence operation. I mean, the thing that Bill was playing, where you run around and go to different places and take pictures of things, that was one of the things that got me thinking about this. I'm like, really? What if we're in DC? Because there's a lot of things in DC, and there's a lot of people running around with camera phones. We could probably do some interesting things there. So games is beyond my company's scope, but I wouldn't say it's completely out of the picture in terms of intelligence community. Be careful what you ask for. And of course, the worst part of all of this is the ethics that are involved. So I had to put in an ethics slide, because to not do so would be unethical. You're putting people at risk, no matter what you do, no matter how you justify it, or how you dress it up. You're putting people at risk. Bad guys don't care. Good guys have insurance. What about in between? What about Anonymous? What about, I don't know, some hacker group, 3 or 4, that wants to just do something like this? You're putting people at risk. Real risk in some cases, depending on what the scenario is. But if you've got people running around in a militarized complex, that's some dangerous stuff. So be careful what you do. This is probably, this is what made putting this whole thing together the hardest, was trying to figure out what we could talk about and if we wanted to talk about it. So there it is. Don't be bad. The neat thing that I enjoy the most is motivating the actors, getting them to do what it is you want them to do. The $20 is nice, but if you can see, this becomes an SE game for us. How can I get you to do what I want done without doing anything else, without paying you money, without sending you a laptop? Do you have a laptop? How do we interact? It's an SE game for us too. Indirect rewards. Can I post your name on Reddit? Can I put you up on, can I upvote you? Ooh, I didn't think about using Immigrant for this. That would be interesting. Okay, anyways, same social engineering games, different angles to motivate the assets. CNN is one of the best people at this. Half their staff, at least half their staff, is now stringers with cell phones. They don't get money. They get a blast of their name when they show the picture, and that's our CNN special reporter. And they don't have to pay these guys to do this stuff. It's great. You can motivate people by feigning interest in a subject. Back to the architecture thing. If I really want pictures of facades in Washington, why don't I go to that particular interest group and post my request there instead of on Craigslist, where I'll get, Bob the plumber. Bob's a good plumber, by the way. But if you go to the specialized interest group, you can find people who are already motivated in the areas that you're interested in exploiting. Just one of those things. Okay. So, that clear up there? The ad that we posted earlier, that's one of the doors. It's a public place. It's not important, so we didn't feel too bad about this. It's not like you're going to break into it. It's a parking garage. You can walk into it. So no harm done, no foul. We made sure that they sent us the pictures with the exit data included. That makes it really easy to check and see, is that where I think it is? Now you can go through Google Maps and you can find the long lats and see exactly where it is that the pictures were taking place. If they can fake that stuff, you're probably dealing with intelligence people and you don't want to mess with them. So you don't care. This is the location. Oops. Hey, look at that. That's what it looks like on Google Maps. That's the parking garage. Again, this is an example of the scoping. We had them take pictures from various angles from the parking garage. And this is a good example of using something to find something else. What's in the background? Right, a religious place. We all know people that like religious places. But all I asked for was a picture out of a garage window, not a church. My house. I live in a cardboard box. So are you starting to understand why I say you got to be careful with this stuff? Games. That's the one Bill plays. I think it's Ingress. Shadowrun IRL. When I was a kid, a long time ago in the dark ages, growing up, we had this thing called Killer, which today, if you played it, would probably get you shot by police. But we ran around pretending to blow stuff up, pretending to kill each other. It was called Assassin in some areas. And it was a whole lot of fun. You used, dart guns, Nerf guns. You'd sneak into somebody's car, turn the radio up on full volume. That was a bomb. But you can use games to motivate activities. And then the best movie ever to watch one time and one time only is The Game, which deals with some of these things, motivating people. I hope my voice holds out. So how to go about doing this stuff. The anonymous aspects of it are covered by those organizations. A neat way to play this angle for timing and stuff is to use coded stickers. Put QR codes on a sticker, slap it on the side of a building, have somebody take a picture of it, what have you. One of the things we thought of. We've never used it, but I thought, hey, send somebody stickers, take pictures, it works. Higher value targets. means what we're talking about doing is getting additional intelligence beyond the facade. For example, the buildings that are framed in the background. I may ask you to take a picture of a Starbucks from a certain angle. What I'm really asking you about is the bank. What I'm not telling you is I'm interested in the guards at the bank. It's just different perception things. And use tails. When somebody starts talking about this stuff, initially you're like, what? And then after you think about it for a little while, you're like, well, that's really not that big a deal, except for that whole danger bit. It's really easy to do this. Any of us can do it. The problem is, what happens when it gets done? Oh, my bad. When you get caught, when your assets get caught, these things are real. Be careful what you play with. This is gasoline. There's no company logo. There's no names. I mean, I'm throwing this out there to you guys. Somebody fix it. Somebody make it right. I don't know how to do this. One of the things that I struggled with at the end of this presentation was what to make the last slide, which is how do you defend against the dark arts? You don't. Because as the SE people in here all know, humans are human. They've never been able to fix that one. But if you have some great ideas, next year, come do a presentation, talk about how we can defend against this, because I haven't figured out how yet. We just keep doing it. Any questions? That was easy. That's it.